I'm just with Canine Perspective, and I'm here at my pit bull Lexi. I wanted to do a quick video on how we do our pack walks, and we had a good number of dogs come in today. We have 7 plus 1, so 8 dogs, and how I go about structuring and planning the pack walk itself. So I already know these dogs, I know the personalities, and they've walked in smaller groups before, so this is going to be the biggest group that they've done themselves. Aside from Obi, who's walked with like 4 other dogs before, so he's got some feel for it. But I know that Harley, Millie, and Obi are like the easiest walkers, and Lex. These are the easiest ones. And then I have Goose and Leo, who will probably be in the middle, alongside with Pablo. And then Summer is like the pushiest one that we have here personality-wise. So that lets me figure out how I'm gonna structure the pack. If I have a new dog, like I'll have all dogs on one side and one new dog on the other, and then slowly just bring dogs over to acclimate them to the group, because it's for a dog in the beginning, when they're between 2 others in a tight formation, they get uncomfortable. They can sometimes panic a little bit because they're not used to being in such close quarters. So we just keep walking. They work through it, and eventually they find their place within the pack. And then they get over it. We're able to just keep walking. So I'm gonna just one by one get these guys. So I got my, this is very a la Cesar Millan. Cesar Millan style. We have these guys fitted with prong collars to make things easier in terms of leash walking. And I also got my Cesar Millan shirt, for that pack leader energy. So we get Obi here. So let's see here. Good. Let's see. Let's try something a little different. Good. Now, I don't do this. I'm doing this because I'm handling this by myself, so I need a little bit more structure. Typically, my handlers hand the dogs off to me, and from there, I'm able to just go on the walk. But since it's just me solo, I'm putting the easy ones, or the easier ones, in a structured position so I can get these guys. Okay. So you can see Goose being a little timid here. All right. So Lex might have a little issue because she's so used to walking to my left. All right, and then we just start getting the structure going. Good. Once we get outside, well, actually, let's do a quick little warm up. So it's been a while since I've walked so many dogs. Come on, let's go. All right. I got to get everybody acclimated with each other. So before stepping outside, doing a quick warm-up inside. Get that structure down, which is why I like having my open space. And it just kind of see where they fall within the pack. So you can look, if you look at their energies, Pablo and Summer are higher energy than the rest of the guys. They're wanting to play when really we're wanting to walk. So I just got to get them in that mindset. And then once we get going, it should be easier. Okay. There we go. Good. So I got to keep the momentum, because anytime I delay, it gives them time to be distracted. So you can see Pablo wanting to play there. We don't want to play right now. Make sure my leashes are good. Do one more loop around.
Canine Perspective.
Sorry, got a little phone call there. All right. So adjust here. 1, 2, 3. I think I can bring Hartley over here to these guys. So I'm gonna have 4 and 4. Don't worry about it. All right, I got my leashes ready. There, we're good. So I got to get everybody the appropriate length here. Good. All right, so we're gonna go to get started. Got a quick little warm up. I'm gonna actually go for a walk. So I'll see you guys outside. Alright, so we were having some mic issues. The mic that I purchased has been having, like, it picks up frequencies and stuff. And, we unplugged it, so we had to, like, redo this part. And then, I guess, my brother wasn't aware that it wasn't recording audio or something. So, there's no audio here. So, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just kind of do a voiceover. So, essentially what I was talking about in this section of the walk was whether or not a dog is leash trained in a formal heel doesn't matter really. It helps. It definitely helps. So, like, I had pointed out that Leo had just started training. Harley, who's behind me, has done training. Obi, I've trained since he was a puppy, and of course my pit bull Lexi. They're trained. So 4 out of these 8 dogs is formally trained with the heel command, and the other ones, like I know Millie, who's on the far right here, she's the black and white, the black face, the white body. Her family's done some work with her, but otherwise I've done no real work with these guys. And the reason why I'm able to walk a number of dogs like this is because I have really good handling skills. You don't really train dogs to walk together. It's more so like you command it, you make it happen. But of course, them having formal training does, obviously it does make things a bit easier. But I'm not saying heel here. I'm using the leash in a fashion that gives me more leverage, which I talk about later in the video. So I don't have it completely slack. I have it shorter, so I don't have to do very much movement. And there's constant communication going on between me and the dogs. If you look at my wrists, how I'm just constantly kind of just moving them a little bit, very subtly. And I'm doing this to dial them down and tell them, like, hey, don't forge ahead. You need to keep my speed, things like that.
And I keep very important when we walk a pack of dogs is that we keep the momentum going. Uh, most people, even when they're walking like just their one dog, if they feel their dog stop or pull, they tend to just stop with the dog. And what happens is the dog learns if I just put the brakes on, my owner will stop, and then I can pee on this, or I can sniff this, or eat this off the ground. And you can't do this with a pack of dogs because one starts to deviate, and then all of a sudden you have 5 dogs going every which way, and it's hard to recover from. Especially if you're just learning. So keeping the momentum going, dogs can really only do one thing at a time. It's either they're trying to sniff the flower that we're passing, or they're walking with me. And obviously, if I keep my movement, the dog is going to have to move with me. And it's not about like here you see me correct Obi because he's trying to deviate, and later on he actually tried to he didn't try, he did poop when we were stopped. So that was him going off to try to poop, and you see me I continue to walk. I'm giving him feedback through the prong collar and keeping that momentum going. One thing I like about pack walks is that it builds confidence in dogs. It's obviously not everybody walks a bunch of dogs at once in a kind of formal context. Like these guys are nice in a nice line. Typically when people walk their dogs, they're pulling and doing like kind of whatever they want. So when you get dogs to walk in uniform, they tend to not be too comfortable with the side by side part of it, especially if you have 3 dogs. There's one dog in the middle. The dog in the middle will sometimes get a little panicky, and they'll want to they'll buck around and they'll try to pull out of it and stuff like that. And that's where momentum and movement is very important. Things were a little bit more difficult for me here because my brother had to walk backwards so that he could film, and I had to keep my pace slower, and which required a lot more feedback to the pack to tell them don't forge, keep with me. And then as we progress during the walk, you see them kind of dial down as their energy kind of burns off and the heat catches up to them and all that. And I use that to my advantage. But definitely, it comes down to handling skills, which is why I stress that with my handlers a lot. Having good handling skills is what allows me to jump into any situation and be able to get control back. It's having control before anything happens, but then also being able to regain control should anything go wrong. And I think that's very important to know or to have as a dog handler or a dog trainer, or even as a dog owner. It's just being able to recover from things going south, because life isn't perfect. Life isn't black and white. It's not going to let you fall in line with the rules and boundaries of the heel command. So there's a lot of kind of nuanced things, kind of off the cuff things. So this is the end of the clip here, and it's going to switch. And the following clips will have the actual recorded audio that you can hear. And this is where Obi decided to go ahead and drop a Dewey. So. Got it. All right, we had some technical difficulties with a pooping dog. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I don't just grab a pack of dogs and start walking. One of the things I say in training is if you're making one thing difficult or more difficult, make something else easier. And what I mean by that is, since I'm walking 8 dogs, I'm not going to go walking the neighborhoods because there's dogs behind fences, people have their dogs off leash, reactive dogs, so on and so forth. So instead, we were right by Western with the facility that I go up Western because we have a wider sidewalk. And there's less houses, so less, chance that we'll come across a reactive dog behind a fence, or territorial dog. So I'm excited. Speaking of, there's one right there. So, but he was behind the fence, which is good. So these guys, none of them are reactive. So that lowers the chance
that we're going to see reactivity doesn't eliminate it, because any dog can become reactive. But that's another thing that I keep in mind, is having a bit of foresight, just understanding how the world is, how people are with their dogs, things like that. And then the dogs that I have within the pack as well. So, had somebody responded, like pulled over to that dog because they were caught off by surprise, I would just keep moving, and then I look at my leashes, and the one that's tied to the one that's pulling or needs to be addressed, and then I address them, which is nice about having different colored leashes, because you can know who is which leash goes to who. If they're all the same color, it makes it pretty difficult. So here, all the dogs are doing pretty good, with the exception of Leo and Summer. They tend to, now they're the two forging. Pablo's kind of found a nice little pocket. But you can see my left hand is doing a lot more work, whereas my right hand is doing very minimal, because these guys are pretty easygoing, right? So knowing all this stuff helps out a lot when doing the pack walk. So I can have maximum control. The other thing I do is, since we're walking so many, we can't have the leash be completely slack, because the more slack there is in the leash, the more leverage the dog has in pulling you. And our center of gravity is at our hips. So since the dog is lower than my center of gravity, when they're pulling, they're going to pull me down. So by having the leash shorter, I'm able to correct the dog or apply pressure without much effort. If I had the leash completely slack, you'd find that my hand would be all the way up here, trying to put tension on the leash. So because I have it shorter, I'm able to just, with either a little bit of motion from my wrist or just lightly pulling back, just moving my forearm, I can slow them down a bit. Okay, so there's a lot of feedback going on when walking with the pack of dogs, and I liken it to having like a class full of children. You have one adult, one teacher, to like 30 kids, and someone may be able to teach one child at a time and be very good at it, but not be very good at 30 children at a time, because it's a very different mindset. You have to have a presence where the 30 kids aren't going to be acting out. You know, they're going to respect you, they're going to change their behavior when you're in the classroom. And I've had teachers like this in the past where the classroom did not respect them, and they had a lot of issues. So gradually, with these guys, you start to find their place and just kind of meld in. So like when I would walk my guys, my three, my Chow, my Chihuahua, and my Pit, it was usually my Chihuahua on the inside, my Pit in the middle, and my Chow mix on the outside, and that was their pack formation. When introducing different types of dogs together, it can be a little bit more difficult, because a lot of times they'll kind of interchange, trying to find where their placement is, where they feel most comfortable, and it might change depending on which dogs are on that walk that day. So, like here, Summer gets distracted by a bug, and I can feel her put tension on the leash, so I just give her counter tension back to get her attention back on the walk. It just comes with the territory. If she had more formal training, she'd probably be better, but it's a minor thing to address. Once you're used to it, like I don't even think about it anymore. As soon as I feel tension, I'm giving counter communication, telling him to either slow down, disengage whatever is distracting him, or to keep up. And I started doing this 10 years ago, so I've had a long time to practice. When I first started my career in Texas, And I had my pack, and I would walk my neighbor's dogs. And I remember I would go to the Humane Society, and I would practice, and I would walk dogs for an hour. And I remember the first day, like it took me an hour to kind of get the feel for it. And then the next day, I got it done I got 2 dogs within the hour. Then the next day, I was able to get 3 dogs within the hour. So like, I kept practicing and developing that skill set. And I got watching Cesar Millan. I'm a big Cesar Millan fan. I definitely like his old stuff way more than I like his new stuff. He's kind of softened up a bit. But I tell everybody, I would watch and then rewatch, rewind, replay, over and over again until I kind of figured out what he was doing. And then I would go to the Humane Society, and I told him that I was a trainer, and I would work with as many dogs as I could. Different personality types, different energies, different sizes, and I just developed that skill. And it's greatly influenced my way of thinking with dogs. I don't come from a obedience standpoint. I come from a behavior standpoint. It's always the one thing I care about the most when working with dogs is the obedience is good, it's control. But the other part is the dog's mindset. That they're calm. Excitement's fine. When it's necessary or appropriate, but not constant. But that's what leads to behavior issues most of the time. So I do the pack walk because I enjoy it. It's just a different state of mind. The awareness of your environment, kind of split-second decisions. It's very instinctual, I would put it. Very exhausting, but it's a lot of mental. I'm thinking, but not really thinking, because I'm so tuned in. So like right now, trying to talk and then like also address like the dogs and stuff as we're moving. Like I think I like using music as a example, because when you're playing like a guitar or piano or your drums or anything like that, it takes a big chunk of your brain. But and for me, like I can't talk and keep a rhythm or keep like some playing. Like I have to I might kind of make mistakes and stuff because my brain's not able to do both at once. And I feel like it's the same thing with dogs when you're walking a pack, or even when you're just walking your own dog. You're in tune to everything going on around you. You're in tune to the environment, in tune to the dogs, their energy, your energy. But I've done it for so long that I can do both. I can both do, being in tune and everything, but also having a conversation. Having a conversation. Excuse me. Talking to the camera. So it's a lot of great exercise. It's great for building confidence for dogs, because especially in the beginning, if they feel uncomfortable, and you work them through it and they realize that it's no big deal, that they can walk with a group of dogs and not have to panic and stuff, that's actually what builds confidence. Pushing them outside their comfort zone and and working them through it, and then they kind of think, not literally, but it's like, oh, like I can do this, it wasn't that bad, and it starts to apply to other things that they may be potentially nervous with or anxious about. It's not a guarantee, but definitely helps. People get too comfortable staying in the same zone. They don't want to break out of it. Go ahead and go around. And if you do that, you don't grow, your dog doesn't grow. And it's not bad, but if your dog has any behavior issues, you're not going to get anywhere unless you're prepared to go out of that comfort zone. So let's go ahead, Corey. You can jump ahead here. So, what else? So we're going to be starting up, it looks like we're going to start up the pack walks again in Lakeview this summer. I wasn't too sure how things were going to look like with the whole epidemic going on. But I posted something on Instagram yesterday checking if people would be interested. And there was a lot of interest. And a lot of people I know that haven't been. This pack walk is different because it's really like a parade of dogs, as opposed to one person walking like 10 dogs at once, or like everybody giving me their dog and us and me just walking with them like this. The pack walk that we have in Lakeview is to actually help. Everybody's welcome, but I did it so that my dog owners that have dogs with dog reactivity come and work on the issues in a controlled environment, not having to worry about judgment and stuff like that. They have to correct their dog. So we show up. It's 8 in the morning over by Cannon and Inner Lakeshore by the statue, and we show up about 8 o'clock. We give everybody a few minutes to arrive. Then we start our walk, and then there's off-leash dogs, people walking their dogs, elevators, skateboarders, things like that. So if someone has a dog that has human reactivity, it's a nice environment to practice in. If the dog has dog reactivity, it's good exposure, getting them used to walking around other dogs, seeing other dogs. If things go south, the owner can correct the dog. And, excuse me, no one's gonna say anything. It's a judgment-free zone, so be excited to start that up again. And it's free. I do it because I enjoy it. I like catching up with people, helping anybody that's been looking for help and they don't know what to do. So I try to talk to everybody for a few minutes, and it's usually about an hour. We get back, take a little nice photo, and then hopefully we're able to get a bunch of good Saturdays in. And I do it as long as the weather's nice, so be looking forward to that. That's it. In the pack walk, it's complex, but it's simple. It's complex because of the number of dogs you have. But once you get used to it, like even summer now is getting less and less, communication because she's starting to get tired. And as she does this more, she ends up going to that state faster. Meaning she goes into a more relaxed state and isn't forging because of practiced habit. And actually, I had a client. The dog's name was Theo. He's on Instagram. Hey yo Theo or Hey yo Theo. And she was a horse handler. She's a horse handler. And we were talking about ways of walking a dog, but not in heel. And I'm trying to remember her question, but it was, I think, something along the lines like obedience structure doesn't always fall in the lines of black and white of life. And we got bikers coming, just so you know. It should be all right. You're not always going to be able to have a very black and white structure with walking your dog or a pack of dogs. So I think the question was like, what do you do in a scenario where you can't do that? And I said, well, that's where I call handling skills comes into play. And it's not so much about formal obedience with the dog as it is just getting everything back under control, as best you can within the context of the situation. So like for these guys, somebody tried to stop the potty a couple of times. Somebody ended up did potty, so we have to wait back and have them sit for a bit, just so we can come go. We forgot poop bags, so we have poop bags. And you might get dogs that intertwine. I actually got these guys were so good because they stayed in position once we got that structure going. When if you remember at the beginning of the video with when I was in the facility trying to get everybody warmed up, it was kind of like they were all over the place a little bit. They were all all over the place. And now that we're outside, they've fallen into a groove structure. They got their place. And it's a lot easier now. My hands, like especially this right side here, like this right side's not doing much of anything. It's really just here at the end. So once you start to wear them out physically, you start to be able to communicate more so with the brain, as I would put it. So like I mentioned in the beginning with Summer here, was a lot of just feedback, communication, things like that through the leash. So she started to like get tired, and she's like, okay, then her brain gets used to walking in a structured, fashion here. And I remember when I was talking to her, she's like, oh yeah, we do that with horses. People will say like, oh, look at that horse being so well behaved. And she's like, well, there's a lot of feedback going on that you're not aware of, that they're communicating through the horse bridle, the leash, or I don't know if they're calling it a leash, maybe a lead. And that's what allows them to do their job. And it's very much similar to like a really good dog handler. You give them any dog, for the most part, they'll get it back under control and looking as if it's trained. And the same thing with a very good horse handler. You give them a horse that's seemingly wild, and they get under control. And maybe they're able to ride horses that, your average horse trainer can't. So I said, yes, it's very much the same. It's very much the same with dogs. So like, that's what makes me a good dog trainer and a good dog handler, is I have the confidence in the skill set. If I come in, I'm gonna get it done. It doesn't mean it's gonna be perfect. It doesn't mean I'm always gonna get 100%, but I'm gonna get way more progress than anybody else because of that confidence and skill set. We dropped our aluminum thing. Can you grab it for it? Just put it in your pocket. It's for the frequency stuff that unfortunately wouldn't go away on the microphone. So here, like right there, I see something happen. I start to slow down, stop, halt the dogs next to me, give the aluminum to my brother, and then we continue walking. Like I'm not fazed by it. And it's very deliberate, whether I'm coming to a stop, if I'm moving, if I'm continuing to move. Because dogs will not follow tentativeness. Okay, they will not take you serious. This is nothing to do with intelligence. This is simply instinctual behavior. Humans are the same way. So like I said before, a teacher can have 30 kids, and if that teacher's not confident in their skill set in both being a teacher and handling 30 children, or being able to, watch here, or being able to, the kids will pick up on it. And I remember I had a music teacher back in high school, and I had always wanted to take music classes. And every school I went to didn't offer any music classes. Finally, my high school offered it. I believe it was my senior year. And I was so excited. And I took the class, and I remember being so annoyed because she was a very passive personality. The other kids or high schoolers would talk. And I remember they would shout answers during the test and stuff like that. And I was very respectful, and I was paying attention because I wanted to learn about music. So it annoyed me that these other kids were taking advantage of her passiveness, and then being rude and like shouting answers and stuff. And I remember the teacher would call the principal. She'd call the principal, and the principal would come over and lecture everybody. And everybody would, they would be quiet for a day or so, and then the next day or whatever, they would be right back to their normal habits, not doing homework, things like that. and they took advantage because she was a very passive personality. But since I wanted to learn and know music, I took it seriously despite that, right? So the principal, because he was a very confident man, a person, came in, set the float down, but once he was gone, everybody knew that she didn't have the ability to keep the control, so they took advantage of it, you know? That's dominance, that's hierarchy, that's confidence, dominance and submission. We'll go left and go back now, but yeah, right there. So it's in the human world too, and I know science tries to debunk the theory of dominance in dogs, and they say it doesn't exist or it's not true, it doesn't apply between dogs and humans. It absolutely does. It's just a bunch of BS. Right? So like right there, somebody left the hamburger Burger King. So I saw that right away and gave space because 8 dogs going after a burger is not going to be pretty. So yeah, they're trying to debunk the dominance theory, and excuse me, all the talking. They're trying to debunk the dominance theory, and it's dumb. Dominance is everywhere, whether you know it or not. It happens on when you have a conversation between people, is actually a dominance and submission example. The person talking and everybody's quiet listening, the talking person would be dominant, the listening people would be submissive. And then if somebody else took the conversation, started talking, that energy shifts. How you doing, guys?
Okay, how y'all doing?
The energy shifts, and the new person talking then becomes the dominant energy, so on and so forth. It's very fluid. It's not concrete. Careful with that gate behind you. It's not concrete, and it shifts constantly. You know, there's no one dog that's going to be dominant over everything. At least, you know, if they are, it's super rare. I'm gonna watch here, dog. So there is absolutely dominance between dog and human. For whatever reason, humans think dogs are like these fluffy animals that have no structure, that they're friendly. Every dog is friendly and happy-go-lucky. And if your dog's not like that, then something's wrong. You know, your dog's broken. That's not the case. Dogs are primitive animals, they're primal. They follow a very strict hierarchy amongst themselves. They bite each other. If they have to like rip into each other, they will. But hold on. Wait. Go. Go ahead. So we had a truck there. So, you know, walking a pack of dogs is, you know, you have to understand these things, you have to respect it, you have to honor it. If you don't, the dogs will take over. Go ahead. Yeah, if you're trying to walk a pack of dogs, you have to understand dominance and hierarchy, corrections, you know, leadership, things like that, in an unspoken way. So it's very much instinctual. So, you know, you wouldn't train 8 dogs to walk in a pack. That's not going to happen. Let me get this here. There we go. So, you got to see a shortened version. I got a Zoom call of a pack walk. We had a few things pop up, but we worked through it. We kept going. And eventually, we were able to actually get our momentum, and we had a good group today, very receptive. You got to see, like these guys here on my right again, they've been very passive. So have Pablo and Carly here, so it's really just been Leo and Summer who are actually both anxious type energies. I'm gonna scoot over to the left because I think there's some kind of dog behind that fence, just so you know. And that anxious energy is what causes them to forge quite a bit. That's a whole nother topic. But essentially, this is how I go about my pack walks. We started with a quick little warm up inside. quick little warm up inside. Then we worked our way outside, found a route that was going to work well, made it simple considering the number of dogs. And then typically these go about an hour and a half, but because I have a call scheduled, we have to cut it a little bit short. But that's pretty much it. So I'm Jesse with Canine Perspective. Thank you for watching.
All right. So it's the end of the walk and everybody settled in. Nice and tired. Pooches. Got Leo, Goosey, Obi, Millie, Harley, Pablo Reno, Summer, and my girl Lex. Alright, thanks for watching, guys.